Okay. So just like I was saying, that before we properly defend our system, we first need information about that particular system we're trying to defend. And that's what this lab is basically about. It's more about information gathering and also figuring out weaknesses and yeah, basically weaknesses in that system we're trying to protect. So now the first question that you would ask yourself is, what is reconnaissance? Well, reconnaissance is the initial phase of penetration testing and ethical hacking, where information about the target system or network is collected just to understand the structure and also identify potential entry points. So now you might ask yourselves to say, what is this information that we're talking about, that we are trying to gather about our target or the system that we're trying to protect? So that information just includes things like IP addresses, domain names, operating systems, software versions, open ports, as well as running services. So reconnaissance can either be passive, where information is obtained without directly interacting with your target. That can be done through Google searches or social media research. But it can also involve, it can also be active, where you directly interact with your target system to obtain information through techniques like scanning. So basically, scanning is just active reconnaissance, because you have to probe or poke your target network so that you obtain information. The same information that I mentioned earlier to say it's just obviously operating systems, software versions, open ports, IP addresses, domain names, and things like that. So now, to do that, obviously there are tools that we use for that, tools like nmap and also OpenVAS. And those are the two tools that we will interact with mostly in our presentation today. So I'll do the first part of the lab, where I'm going to use nmap and show you how you can collect information about your target or the system that you're trying to protect. And then Mwape and Kelly's will do the second part of then Mwape and Kelly's will do the second part of the presentation, where they'll use OpenVAS to discover or know the vulnerabilities that the services that are running on your target machine or the system that you're trying to protect, and to what extent or levels of severity that those vulnerabilities are. Just like so, as usual, we did prepare our environment, that is the virtual machine, Kali, and we also installed Metasploitable tool, which is our vulnerable machine, and then Kali will be our attacking machine. So nmap is employed to perform active reconnaissance on Metasploitable, which you will see later in our presentation. And then OpenVAS is going to be used to conduct a vulnerability scan to identify non-security weaknesses that might be are exploited during an attack, and also highlight how severe are those weaknesses and solutions, which you'll see later on in our presentation. Um, Basically, the aim of this lab is just for us to gain a practical understanding of how information is obviously gathered on our targets using nmap and
Rachel, is
OpenVAS.
your presentation supposed to
And,
be moving? It is just stuck on what is reconnaissance. Are you moving the slides? Oh,
no,
all right, okay,
no,
okay.
I was
Explaining. Okay,
just explaining a bit on reconnaissance.
okay, fantastic.
Yeah. So, like I was saying earlier, why reconnaissance comes first. We're saying for successful exploitation or intruding on a remote system starts with the information that you've gathered about that target or the system that you're trying to exploit. And then this part of the presentation is just showing how we installed Kali and then also our vulnerable machine, which is metasploitable. And then let me just go ahead and just show you how we can carry out active reconnaissance, which is basically scanning using nmap, so that you see the information that is gathered using nmap. So I'm going to go to my virtual machine. Let me just log in. So in the lab manual that Dr. Lukumba gave us, there was a command that was supposed to run in nmap. So that is my command, and then this IP address is for metasploitable, which is our target in this case.
So, yeah, so Rachel, what you can do maybe first of all, before even check that IP address, you can open Metasploitable so that you run the if config, we check the IP address because it's important. That's the first
Okay.
step, yes, because reconnaissance will start by you identifying the interfaces of your target machine. So in this case, we needed to start with Metasploitable. And we run the if config, it gives us the interface and we know which interface we are trying to attack.
Oh, okay. It's just that I already did that. So,
Yeah, for
but
the
anyway,
sake, yeah, for the sake of this class, we need to do
okay.
that. Yes.
Just a second.
Yeah.
Just waiting for it to boot. Okay, as we are waiting for Metasploitable to boot, is there? Okay.
Yeah. So from there, you can now tell us. Okay. So you've got. So when you check from our machine, she has got two interfaces. So there is Ethernet 0 and the loop link, the loop back. So when you check on the Ethernet 0 there is a section that is a second line. The first line has got the MAC address, the second has got the innet address. So the address there is 192.168.78.130. Is it correct?
Yes, yes, doc.
Yeah, so and it tells you that it is a class C network because of the subnet mask that is there. So you can proceed.
Okay. So this is where we are. I think we can confirm to say this is the IP address for our vulnerable machine. So we'll run that command. Just a second. My machine is a bit slow. Okay, as we are waiting, do we have any questions up to this point? Or any additions from Wape and Kelly's?
So you're using Metasploit table 2, right?
Yes, Doc.
Yeah, for Metasploit table 3, you're going to find that it has more interfaces than the 2. So if you're using 3, you're going to discover that there's going to be Ethernet 0, Ethernet 1, as well as the loop. So you can attack 2 interfaces or more. Okay, so if you want, you
Oh,
can also, yes, that's what I want to mention. If you're using Kali 3, or sorry, Metasploitable 3, it will have more interfaces than Metasploitable 2.
I opted to go for this one because
No, this one is
my
easier. This one is easier, and your machine,
my
uh,
machine is very
yes, yes,
small
yes,
in
yeah,
terms of
yeah,
resources.
yes, 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 yes.
Okay, I think it's done. We have an output there. From this output, I think we can see we have ports, then we have the state of those ports. Are they open? Are they closed? And I think all of them are showing that they're open. And then we also have the services and the version. But if we go back to our lab, the question was asking us to obviously use nmap to scan the target and also find the software version of the OS as well as the resources that are running on the target machine. So if you just go down here, so this is the version of the operating system that our target machine is using is Linux, and the version is it's ranging from 2.6.9 to 2633. Yes, so that's how you can use nmap to carry out reconnaissance, which is just basically information gathering about your target. Any questions? So then the other part where the question is asking us to identify maybe three or more services, we have a number of them. We have FTP services, SSH services, Telnet, and we have a lot. All these HTTP, all these services that are running on our vulnerable machine. So it's that simple. Any questions? Any additions from Wape and Kelly's?
Yeah, I think that's okay.
Okay,
Question?
so just to emphasize any map, where when we run any map, it does three things. The first one, it's going to send a ping and a TCP SYN packet to the target to check if the device is alive and if it's responding to communication. The second thing it does is to scan the ports. So it will scan all the ports on the target to see which ports are open and what services are running on those ports. And then for any ports, open ports, it tries to identify what I talked about, the services that are running there and the version, just what Rachel was explaining.
Okay. Um, so I'll give the floor to my colleagues to do the second part of the lab using OpenVAS to identify vulnerabilities in the services that are running on your target machine. So let me just stop sharing.
Thank you, Rachel. Please just confirm audibility if you can hear me.
You can hear me.
Okay.
Yes, we can.
So let me just share my screen. I'm briefly going to show you how we can log into OpenVAS using our virtual machines, and just explain a few things, how we start the services and how we log into the graphical user interface. And at some point, Kellys will come in to show us how to scan. So let me just share my screen. Just a moment. Okay. Able to see this?
Yes, we can.
Okay, yeah. So the second part is OpenVAS, which is also Gridborn Vulnerability Manager. And basically, this is a full vulnerability scanning and management platform. So unlike nmap, it just doesn't scan inventory ports like the ports that Rachel was showing us, but it runs its own service discovery internally and then tests each discovered service. So every service is compared against a constantly updated feed of network vulnerability tests, NVTs, which are tied to real CVEs. So CVEs are like where you have a log of the vulnerabilities that you've had before, so that everyone else who encounters the same challenge just is able to refer to such logs and take the necessary actions. So each match is scored using CVSs. So findings come back ranked by severity, critical, high, medium, or low. So just to show you some graphical representation, say we have 70 findings. So they will be categorized in terms of severity, critical, high, medium, or low. So let me just show you the actual, let me just open my virtual machine. Okay, I had it open here. Yeah. So this is my virtual machine, and I'm just going to log in because I was using it. So obviously we are here already, but this is my VMware. I do have my Kali here, and I do have my Metasploitable here.
Mr. Chibo, am I the only one who's not seeing your screen? Am I the only one?
We can see it.
Okay, let me just take. Can you see it now? Are you able to see it now?
Yes, we can see.
Okay, I'm just going to, I don't know my computers before me, so I'll just bring this down. Okay, so I was saying, I'm just going to show you how we log into the graphical user interface of OpenVAS. And on the screen here, we have our VMware. And I have my Kali Linux there and my Metasploitable there. So I'm just going to log in. So it will take just a few seconds, I think, to actually initialize. So while it's doing that, let me also just go to my Metasploitable 2 and just run the ifconfig so that we see the IP that my machine, the Metasploitable 2, is running on. Okay. It will take a moment to come up. Okay, yeah. So I'm going to run the ifconfig. So like we said earlier, so unlike Rachel's, mine is running on this IP address, 192.168.141.128. So I'm just going to do a ping from my Kali Linux just to see if the two virtual machines are communicating. So I'll open my terminal over there. So I'm going to do a ping 192.168.128. Okay, so we're able to see the milliseconds there, so meaning the two machines are communicating. So I'll just cancel this. So at this point, we want to log into the graphical user interface of OpenVAS. So what we do, we need to initialize first the services of the OpenVAS, otherwise we can't log in. So how we do that, we have to run the command sudo gvm start. Then obviously I'm posting my password there. So it says, please wait for your GVM services to start. Might need to refresh your browser once it opens. So let's just give it a moment. I think it should be up in a minute. I don't know if there are any questions as of now, as we're waiting for this, or contributions. We're waiting for it to initialize.
Yeah. So maybe the question that I can just pose is, how is the IP address for the VM assigned? Let's say for Metasploitable, where is it? Where does it get the IP address? Is it assigned? Who assigns that IP address? How is it assigned? Yes.
Okay, my understanding is that I would expect it to be different from any other workstation because of the very workstation that it's being used on. I don't know if Kelly's or Rachel have a better explanation for that.
Yeah. So what you do is, when you check your machine, okay, when you go to, has it finished loading? Not yet, right? Or you need to refresh the browser. Yeah. So what happens is, when you go to your network settings of a virtual machine, there are basically three options that you are going to find there. So just right click on the virtual machine any VM, just on top of, no, not on the terminal, on the workstation, on the home page of your virtual machine.
This one, the home page.
Yeah, okay. Go to the next machine.
So here I have my Kali.
So right click on the, no, just the right click. We send us to the settings of the machine.
So go to our settings.
Yeah, don't stop the machine, but if you right click on the machine, it should take you to the. Let me see what. Okay, take us to the home page of your VM. No, it has got the workstation where all the machines are appearing.
Okay, so I had initially I had it's a library. Initially I
Oh,
had closed it.
okay.
Let me just
Mhm.
yes, see. There was a tab, but I closed.
Uh-huh. Okay, no, it's okay. It's okay. So what I wanted to say is the choice of the network. If you say you are bridged, you are NAT, okay. So it's like if your machine is attached to an already existing network. So in this case, when you check the IP ranges, they're supposed to align to what network your virtual machine is sitting on. So if it's sitting on your Windows, if it's sitting on top of your Windows, then it's going to pick the IP address for that network it's on. Okay, so you can continue. You can continue since your machine has loaded.
Okay, all right, yeah. So let me just take it back to the terminal a bit. Okay, so this was done after we initialized, we started the services. And then now we have to access the IP address. It's already here because I was accessing it. 127.0.0.1, and then the port is 9392. So immediately you put that in, are going to be brought to this page. So ideally, the credentials that you use here, when doing the installation for OpenVAS, there's a point where the installation is going to create an administrative password. And so that's the password that you use here. And then when you log in, you are able to change that password. So for this one, the credentials are admin, and then my password is there. So I'll just sign in. So we have my dashboard here, and there are a number of assets and things that we can look at. So ideally here it says feed is currently syncing or synchronizing. So this takes a lot of time depending on the computer resources. Yeah. So if we go back to our objective, it was saying that we have to use OpenVAS to do a scan and then identify two vulnerabilities. So I'm not going to do a scan. Kelly's laptop is in a better position to do a scan because I had trouble with mine. So he's going to come in, he's going to do the scan, and then later on I'll come back just to conclude with the PowerPoint presentation. So with this interface, we've logged into the OpenVAS. Now I'll just let Kelly's take it up and run us through the scan. So let me just stop sharing my screen.
Okay, good evening once again. I'll pick it up and demonstrate on how we can do the scan. Let me share my screen. Okay, I hope you are able to see my screen. So I'll log into my Kali. Okay, so first thing also I'll go to my Metasploitable just to confirm the IP address it's using. Okay, so I'm already logged in there. So I'll do the command if config. Okay, so that is my IP address 192.168.220.128. So I'll need that IP address to do the scan. So let me go back to my Kali. So from my Kali, I'll open the browser. I've already started the services, seeing that starting the services, it does take a bit of time. So in my case, the service is already running. So let me go to OpenVAS. Yeah, so if you check out the lab, we have to go to that IP 127.0.0.1 :9392. So there at the login page, you type the username. In my case, I'm using the default, the admin, and then I had created my password already, which is there. I'll sign in. Okay, I hope you are able to see my screen. Okay, so once you log in, the first thing we have to do is to configure the targets that we want to scan. So you go on the left-hand side, you can see there are those tabs: dashboard, scans, assets. So we go to the configuration tab, and then under configuration, you have to go to targets. Targets there, we click on that icon, which is saying new target. And then that's the screen that you are going to get. So first thing, if you configure the name there, I'll call it EEE 6655 lab. And then under host, there on manual, I'll put the IP address of the target that we want to scan. That IP address that I took note of from Metasploitable, which is 192.168.220.128. And then the rest, I'll just leave the settings as they are on default. I'll go with the default settings. And then I'll save. Yeah, so when you do that, you will see that under here, you will see the one that we've created with that name, EEE6655-lab. So the next thing now you have to do, you move to the tab which is saying scans. You expand there. So we are creating a task. You click on task, and then there we go to that icon to create a new task menu. I'll say new task. And then the task there, you give it a name. I'll give it the same name that I gave the target, 6655-lab. And then on scan targets there, you click that field which is saying scan targets. So there you are able to see some options, some scan targets that I've created on my machine. So I'll pick the one that we are from creating, which is that one, the first one. And then the rest, I'll just go with the default settings that are already there. And then I'll save. So once you save, you come here under the action menu here, you will see that the task that we have created is that one on top with that green icon, which is saying new. The others are these other tasks that I was running earlier when I was doing the scans. So now when you are there, you see there is an icon which has got the play button there, which says start. So to start your scan, you click there. So you will see the status has changed to requested. And then after a few seconds, it will start the scanning. So the scanning itself is something that's going to take a bit of some time. My previous scans, like the first one I did, took about 8 minutes to finish. The second one took about 1 hour, 10 minutes to finish. So you can see the status has changed to queued, and then you are seeing the progress there. It's showing it's at 0%. So I'm not sure how long it's going to take, but once it finishes, you have your status, it will show done, and then you have your report there. So this one, wait for it to finish, but when it's done, you can access your report. So how you access your report, I'll just go back to these other scans that I've already finished just to demonstrate. When it's done, let me pick the second one, the one that I was doing today, much earlier. So when you have there, under last report, this column, you can just click on that link there. So when you click there, you can download the report. Up there in this section where it's saying filter, there is a download icon there. So you just click there, and then you can select the format that you want to download your report in. So in this case, when you click here, it will bring those options. You've got the PDF format, the TXT format, as well as the CSV format. So it's up to you which format you prefer. If it's the PDF, you just click on the PDF, and then you say OK. Okay, so when it's done, you will see that the browser will even open your report. So this is the report I got earlier when I did the scan. You can see that when you do the PDF format, it even creates a table of contents. And then when you are there, you can see, I'll just go to where it's just showing an overview. Okay, just the first page there, you can see that is your result overview presented in a table. So it will give you the host, the IP address there, and then you can see from the report there, we've got issues that have been classified as critical. There are 13. Those that are high in terms of severity, there are 11. And then medium, we've got 40. So when you go through the report, it's quite a detailed report. I think it's got over 60 pages. It will highlight the issues. Yeah, so the first one, you can see that one, which are being classified as a critical, and there you have your information. So this is how you go about doing the scan, and then you can analyze your result. And I think since we are living in a modern age where we can even make use of some AI tools to do the analysis. It will help you to, you can feed this report into one of the AI tools, and then it will give you an analysis, an executive analysis of your report, and give you all the results that you want. So that's how you do uh, the scan. Let's just go back to the scan that I'm running just to see how far it has gone. Okay, so as you can see, I think it's at 0%. So this one does take quite a bit of time. It's resource intensive, but you have to exercise a lot of patience. Eventually, you have your report. So just on the report itself here, I was talking about the report. Coming to the left-hand side where we've got these tabs, you can also go on the results there. You can see that the report that it did, the one that I was looking at, it will give you that analysis and present the report in that pie chart format, and then you've got the graph on the other side. So as you scroll down also, you will see the vulnerability on the left-hand side, and then you've got the column where it shows the severity, and then also to give you the host and these other things that you can see. I hope you are able to see. Now, there are questions.
Yeah, so this is well done. So each week people are raising the bar. Okay, so last week we thought the bar was at the highest. So people have now pushed it. Okay, so the bar keeps on um, rising, or it keeps on being raised. So this kind of learning, this is what must be applied, you know, across all courses at UNZA. So that this way you'll be sure that people are learning. Okay. So I believe after this semester, I can be assured that there will be people to take over lecturing this course, looking at the level of expertise that people are gathering. So this is commendable. Yeah, you can. But we won't wait. Yeah, we won't wait for that scan. I know how long it takes. So whether you're using OpenVAS or if you're using Nessus, it takes much of some time. But it's good that you used your initiative of having some already generated results. Okay, so over to you.
Okay. Okay, so back to the lab, I think to the questions. We've got question 3, which is saying use OpenVAS to find 2 vulnerabilities of the target and then briefly describe them. Yeah, so from the result I obtained, one of the vulnerabilities we noted from there, the first one was that the operating system that is running on the host is outdated. It's using Ubuntu 8.0.4. I think this is a version that was released sometime back in 2008, and I think support for that operating system ended in 2013. So that in itself, using an outdated operating system, which is no longer receiving support, and patches, it's quite risky. Then the other vulnerability we noted from there was that the MySQL database and MariaDB, those were using the default credentials, which will enable the attacker to easily log in and start changing your databases. So that one is quite risky. So those were 2 vulnerabilities that we noted. So I'll hand over to my colleague, Mwape, to take it over. I'll stop sharing.
Okay, thank you. So just to conclude, let me just share my screen. Okay, hopefully able to see this. So just in addition to the critical findings that Kelly's talked about, we have other notable critical findings, just a few of them. Like number 1 there was a possible backdoor ingress lock on port 1524. A rogue shell answers with that code. So that instantly grants root access to the system, and someone is able to log in and attack the machine. So we also had the error login, passwordless login. Obviously, we know that you can't have such a system where you don't have a password. That's too open. So the root access granted over error login with no password required at all. Then we had the distributed Ruby on 148787. Unauthenticated attackers can execute arbitrary Ruby commands remotely. We also had Apache Tomcat on port 809. So the CVE 2020-1938 allows file read or remote code execution via the AJP connector. We have the distcc RCE on port 3632. So the CVE 2004-2687 lets attackers run arbitrary commands via the distcc daemon. And then we had the tricky XSS, or the command execution, on port 80, where unsanitized input leads to script injection and RCE. So there are a lot of these critical findings. It just depends on what you are looking for. So these are the 2 that he spoke about, the 2 vulnerabilities. And so let's get to the challenges and lessons that we've learned. During our lab, the 3 of us, Rachel, Kelly, and I, there was an issue of disk space exhaustion. So you find that GVM's vulnerability feeds consume the full 19 GB candy disk. Sometimes, like in Rachel's case, it was crashing. So fixed by expanding the VMware virtual disk to 60 GB and resizing the partition live with gparted. So initially, there was an allocation, I think, of 20 to 30, and then after this discovery, we had to allocate more space to the disk. So memory constraint host. So OpenVAS manager, the scanner, Postgres, SQL, backend, and RAM hungry. So we need a lot of RAM for this lab. I'm running on a computer which is an 8 gig computer. So I was only able to allocate 4 GB to this. Kali's had has better resources. It's 16 GB, so he was able to allocate about 16. That's how come even the scans on his part took less time than mine. I think I completed the scan in about 6 to 8 hours. Kelly's was much less, and Rachel couldn't at all. So the service dependency chains. So GVMD depends on PostgreSQL and OSPD OpenVAS being fully initialized first. So systemd startup, order, and PID parts needed manual troubleshooting via journal CTLL. So basically, we had challenges in setting up these, even when installing the OpenVAS itself. There were errors, and then ultimately we got to discover to say that the limitation of resources on our computers, that was the biggest thing that was bringing about these challenges. Yeah, and so the takeaways, in conclusion, were 23 open ports found by nmap on the target, including FTP, SHTTP, MySQL, and PostgreSQL. And we had 70 vulnerabilities identified by OpenVAS, 13 of them rated critical, or which were greater than 9. And then there's a clear link proven between recon and risk. The same VS FTPD banner nmap found maps directly to a CVE scored backdoor. So scanning tells you what's exposed. Vulnerability assessment tells you what to fix first. So nmap part 1 answered what's running on the target, and OpenVAS part 2 answered what's dangerous about it. So together they form the discover, assess backbone of penetration test. So you have a number of things. You scan and you are told this is what is there. And then you go deeper with OpenVAS, and then it tells you what is dangerous about those things that you have found. So I think this is the conclusion of our lab. Any questions and contributions?
Just an addition, Mwape.
Yes.
I think we all noticed that both OpenVAS and nmap are able to do the scans, but OpenVAS goes an extra mile and highlights the weaknesses in those services that are running on a target machine or in the system. But for nmap, it just ends on just exposing what ports are open, services, operating systems, and just the versions of the softwares. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other contributions and maybe questions? If not,
maybe just a question.
Yes.
I did not get the amount of resources that you used. Sorry, my network was a little bit bad because I was trying to install OpenVAS and had a bit of some problems. Then you mentioned something about resources being the main constraint. So would you just highlight what resources you used, RAM and probably disk space?
Yes, so the main constraints, like I said earlier, was the disk space and RAM. So on my workstation, I had allocated 50 GB for space, and then I could only allocate 4 GB RAM because it's an 8 GB laptop. But Kelly's was a better option because it's a 16 GB RAM machine, so he was able to allocate half of it. So that's how come his scans progressed quicker than mine and Rachel's. So you need at least 50 GB of space And then the worst case scenario should be a 4 GB RAM, and then preferably much higher than that. So depending on the system resources, your workstation resources, I think that you'll be able to process work faster uh, with better resources.
Yeah, just to add also, I think for better results, you are better off having RAM 8 GB. And then on the processor cores, I used 4 because I saw that when I had allocated 2 cores, it was a bit slow, it was taking long, but I had success when I beefed it up to 4 cores. Yeah, so it was quite resource intensive. Thank you.
I don't know if that's clear, Ben.
Yes, clear. Thank you.
Okay. Any other uh, contributions and clarity?
Yeah, fantastic. So, so we can see that we have done how many steps from the steps that are supposed to be followed in the hacking process. How many steps have we done so far for
Two.
this lab? We have only done two,
Two.
right? So we've
Yes.
just done reconnaissance and the scanning. Okay, so that is how we are developing these labs. Okay, so last week we had our colleagues who were doing also scanning, but they were using we were using Wireshark. Okay, so for Wireshark, our focus was on checking what was happening on the live network, because we're trying to capture the packets, trying to look at the protocols that are being implemented, trying to look at the services, okay, that are happening, because our target was a web browser. So we know that for a web browser, your protocol is HTTP, okay, and then we add TCP and UDP as the protocols that we are supporting the transport layer. So at the network, we looked at the addresses and whatever it was. So now, this week, we had gone a step further in the scanning process, but in this case, we were targeting a host. Okay, we are targeting a host on the network, and this was a metasploitable tree. So we develop until we reach a point where we can attack the machine. Okay, at this point we haven't attacked the machine. We are just doing the scanning. So remember, Rachel was saying that scanning can both be passive and active. Okay, so that is the key takeaway from this class. So lab 4, as usual, I'll send well in advance to give you time to work as a group and ensure that the responsibilities are shared equally. So unless there are people that up to now don't have groups, so you can communicate through the class rep, and we should be able to get word of people that are not in the groups, because for the initial groups that we did, there were 7 groups that we did. So I believe everyone uh, is assigned a group. So in case someone was missed, we can still go back and look at how um, the list is sitting. Okay, so group 3, be ready, because your lab will be shared at the earliest time possible, and the details of that lab uh, will be shared uh, using the usual channel, unless there are contributions. So this is how nice, concise, and easy it can be if the team members involved share responsibility and prepare in advance. So to make even our classes more, you know, more concise, on point, so that we also focus on other things apart from 6655. Unless there are other concerns, contributions. So this class, once it's done, I'll package it and I'll put it on my YouTube because I think YouTube supports bigger videos. So I think I'll put it on my YouTube account, which hasn't been active for some time. I'll see if it can sit there, and then you can access it, especially those that were presenting the class. Okay. If there are no issues, concerns, we can adjourn our class to say the next week.
Doc,
Yeah.
I just want to appreciate you. I think the way you conduct the practicals, we are really learning a lot. I won't lie, Doc. On my case at work, I once tried to run OpenVAS and it failed. Honestly, on this one, I didn't try and do it because I had that bad experience. So now I've learned why it failed, and I'm going back to the drawing board and also to try and implement where I failed. So all in all, we really appreciate, Doc. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you for that feedback. Mr. Kavengere, Mr. Kellys?
Yes, Doc. So
Yes,
just
yes.
want to find out now in terms of, so are we supposed to do the report which we have to hand over for marking to you, or how is it?
Yeah, so like I had mentioned, because the lab that I do, like it's more or less complete, but there are some things like challenges that you encountered which are not documented in the lab that I did. So you can do your lab that captures whatever steps you did, because mine might be different from yours based on maybe the machines that you are using, the version of the software, or maybe at the time that I was doing the lab, some things had actually migrated. So basically, you can do a lab that a report that can be shared with the entire team. So you can send to me and share to the entire team. But as you are doing your presentation, I also take notes because I usually, yeah, I'm a person who likes writing things. So I usually write. So when I'm presenting, when I'm reacting to your presentation, it's because I've seen something good in your presentation, and I take note, something like that. So for the labs, usually labs they are assigned the 15 marks. Okay, they carry the biggest chunk of your CA. So mostly there's a 15 that goes to these labs. So obviously after this, if there'll be time, maybe we can do a second or so. We'll look at, because at the moment we still don't know how the academic calendar is going to run. So if there's time, then you can do another one. But labs per se, they carry a 15%. Okay, so yeah, so I take note in the background. So the report, I'll look at it just to compare the issues that arose while you are doing your lab compared to the way I structured it. Is it clear, Mr. Kavengere?
Yes, it's clear. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Mape.
Yes, sir. Just some more clarity earlier on when I was presenting, you mentioned regarding the IP addresses
Yeah,
because
so
they are
like,
different.
yeah, so they are different. So first of all, the owners of these tools, the moment you create your account, because remember you can't use like Kali, okay, without creating an account. So by virtue of you creating an account, obviously it's going to be unique from the other person. So meaning the machine is already assigned an IP address. So now when you when you configure virtual machines, under the section for the network, there are some options there, right? Have you observed, Mr. Kabenge? So there is network address translation, which is NAT. Okay, you can have an abridged network. So all those, they've got a meaning. Okay, so I don't know if you took note of those issues. So if you are updating your Kali Linux, okay, and then you pick a wrong interface, it's not going to update. So meaning if you want to update your Kali Linux, it's supposed to have access to the internet, right? So now, which root is it using? So it's using the root of the parent OS. So if it's a Windows, so meaning if you're on a Wi-Fi network, then your virtual machine must link to the Wi-Fi network for your virtual machine to have access to the internet. So if you pick a wrong network configuration, then your virtual machine and the machines within the workstation will not be able to talk to the parent OS. So what you can just do is, Mr. Kelly, do know how to check the IP address of your machine. The same if config, okay, can be run from your command line to check your interfaces that are sitting on the machine. So if your machine is not off, you can switch on, you share your screen, and then you run us through you put up your commands interface, you run your if config, and then you're going to see the IP address. You're going to see that the IP address that your machine has, it's in the range, it's the same range with what your parent machine is carrying. Yeah, so that's why I asked you that question.
Okay, that's fine, Doc.
Okay. Yeah, because if you are using Metasploitable 3, it's chaotic. It's because for Met 2, it's more or less like plug and play. So some things just come, they are just configured on the default. But if you're using Met 3, it's hell. Okay, it's going to give you some nightmares a little bit, because it requires you to configure, to do the manual configurations. So they are not default configurations. That's why I was trying to mention, to put up that point, so that if there are others that are working with some VMs that would require configurations, okay, apart from the default ones, then you need to understand what it means when a network is configured using a network address translation, when it's in abridged, okay. So you need to understand what all those network terminologies are and what they mean. Okay. Yeah. Okay, thank you. So let's adjourn to Thursday next week sometime. Enjoy your evening.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you.
Thank you.